The helicopter lurched and my stomach landed in my throat. It wasn't fear of heights. It was the absolute terror of realizing that I, Clementine Clem Holloway, waitress at a crummy cafe in Boston who could barely pay rent, was 3,000 feet in the air in a private helicopter next to a man who probably spent more on ties than I made in a year, and he thought I was someone else. So, Dr. Ashford, Sterling Blackwood's deep voice cut through my thoughts like a sharp knife. I hope you're prepared to impress my board. They're not receptive to outside consultants. I should have corrected the mistake right there. Should have screamed, "Stop this helicopter," and confessed everything. But instead, I heard my own voice, strangely calm, respond, "I don't impress people, Mr. Blackwood. I show results." He arched a perfectly sculpted eyebrow, and something that could be mistaken for interest gleamed in those storm-colored eyes. 3 hours ago, my biggest concern was whether I could pay the electric bill at the end of the month. Funny how life turns upside down in seconds. It had been a hellish day at Brendan's Cafe, the kind of day where everything goes wrong. The espresso machine broke twice, a dog stole a croissant from the display case, and Mrs. Patterson complained that her cappuccino was existentially incorrect. Her words, not mine. When my shift finally ended at 5 in the afternoon, all I wanted was to rip off that coffee-stained apron, go home, and watch bad reality shows while devouring instant noodles. But then Brendan, my eternally flustered boss, begged me. "Clem, please," he practically whimpered. "Just deliver this special order. It's to a fancy address. They'll probably give you a generous tip." The generous tip had been the perfect bait for someone with $23 in their bank account. The address was on Newbury Street, Boston's most elegant area. I carried the thermal box through the marble lobby of a building that seemed designed by someone who hated poor people, and when the elevator opened directly into a penthouse that cost more than I'd earn in 10 lifetimes, I realized I'd made a mistake. A tiny woman with a tablet and an expression of absolute panic ran up to me. "Thank God you're here." She practically ripped the box from my hands. "Mr. Blackwood is waiting. The helicopter is on the terrace. Quick!" "Wait, what? I just came to deliver." "There's no time." She pushed me toward a glass door. He hates delays more than he hates Mondays, and that's saying something. "Go!" And that's how, wearing a coffee-stained apron and worn-out sneakers, I found myself on the terrace of a millionaire's penthouse, with the helicopter wind messing up my sloppy ponytail, face-to-face with the most handsome and absurdly irritating man I'd ever met. Sterling Blackwood looked like he'd stepped straight out of a men's magazine cover. Those magazines normal people only see in expensive dentist offices. Charcoal-colored tailored suit, perfectly styled dark hair, and a permanent expression of boredom that screamed, "I'm too rich to care about your problems." He looked me up and down with disapproval. "Dr. Ashford?" His tone made it clear he expected something more impressive. "You're younger than I imagined. Dr. Ashford." Clearly, I wasn't Dr. Ashford, whoever she was. But before I could explain, he continued, "I don't care about your age, as long as your credentials are legitimate. Let's go. I hate wasting time." And then he simply turned and walked toward the helicopter. In that crucial moment, my brain short-circuited. It might have been exhaustion. It might have been the accumulated rage of years serving expensive coffees to people who didn't even say thank you. It might have been my late grandmother Dolores's voice in my head saying, "When life gives you an opportunity, grab it with both hands, dear." Or it might have simply been temporary insanity. Because instead of screaming, "You have the wrong person," I took a deep breath, straightened my shoulders, and followed that arrogant man straight into the helicopter. Now, floating over Boston as the sun set in orange and golden tones, reality was beginning to sink in. "Dr. Ashford?" I looked up. Sterling was watching me with an intensity that made my heart race, and not in the romantic movie way. "Yes? You're pale? Fear of heights?" "No," I lied shamelessly. "Just thinking about the presentation." He tilted his head, studying my face in a way that made me feel like a painting in an art gallery. "You know," he said slowly, "there's something different about you. Your assistant said Dr. Ashford was, how shall I put it, more formal. You seem—" My heart stopped. I managed to stammer. A tiny smile, almost imperceptible, touched the corners of his mouth. Refreshing. And there, 3,000 feet in the air, in a private helicopter, pretending to be a doctor who probably studied for years to earn her title, while an arrogant and absurdly attractive millionaire looked at me like I was an interesting puzzle, I had one crystal-clear thought: I am completely screwed. The helicopter landed on what could only be described as a floating palace. I'd seen fancy houses on TV. Hell, I'd delivered coffee to some nice brownstones in Back Bay. But this was something else entirely. Sterling Blackwood's cottage on Martha's Vineyard was a sprawling estate of glass and stone that probably had more square footage than my entire neighborhood. "Welcome to Sea Glass," Sterling said, his hand suddenly at the small of my back as he guided me off the helicopter. His touch sent an electric shock through my coffee-stained uniform, which, oh God, I was still wearing under the blazer the assistant had frantically thrown at me before shoving me into the helicopter. "It's beautiful," I managed, which was the understatement of the century. "It's excessive," he corrected, his voice carrying an edge of something I couldn't quite identify. "But it impresses clients, and that's what matters." A staff member appeared from nowhere. Do rich people just have invisible employees lurking everywhere? And took Sterling's briefcase. "Mr. Blackwood, the board members have arrived. They're in the conservatory." "Excellent." Sterling turned to me, and those storm-gray eyes locked onto mine with an intensity that made my knees wobble. "Ready to dazzle them, Dr. Ashford?" No, absolutely not. I wasn't ready to dazzle anyone. I was ready to throw up. "Always ready," I heard myself say. The lie was getting easier. That probably wasn't a good sign. We walked through corridors that belonged in architecture magazines, and I tried desperately to remember anything I might have overheard about business consulting while serving lattes to MBA students. "Mr. Blackwood," I said, stalling for time, "before we go in, perhaps you could brief me on the specific challenges your board is concerned about." He stopped mid-stride and looked at me with something resembling respect. "Smart. Testing to see if I've actually read your proposal." A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "The resort project in Santorini. Revenue projections aren't meeting expectations, and half my board wants to pull the plug. Your firm claimed you could turn it around in 6 months? Resort, Santorini. 6 months." I filed away these crucial pieces of information while my brain screamed in panic. "6 months is generous," I said, channeling every confidence I didn't have. "I'll need 3. His eyebrows shot up. "3? I don't believe in wasting time, Mr. Blackwood. You said so yourself, you hate it." For a moment, he just stared at me. Then, unexpectedly, he laughed. A real, genuine laugh that transformed his entire face from coldly handsome to devastatingly gorgeous. "You know what, Dr. Ashford? I think I'm going to enjoy working with you." My traitorous heart did a little flip. We entered the conservatory, because of course he had a conservatory, where 5 people in suits that cost more than my car, if I had a car, sat around a table made of what looked like a single slab of marble. "Gentlemen, lady," Sterling said smoothly, "meet Dr. Ashford, the consultant who's going to save our Santorini disaster." All eyes turned to me. Judgmental, expensive eyes. An older man with silver hair and a scowl that could curdle milk spoke first. "You look rather young, Dr. Ashford." "I get that a lot," I replied, surprising myself with how steady my voice was. "Usually right before I prove them wrong." Sterling's lips twitched. Was he enjoying this? "Your credentials are impressive," a sharp-faced woman said, consulting her tablet. "Harvard MBA, 3 years at McKinsey, now running your own boutique consulting firm." I nodded, my mouth dry. Somewhere in Boston, the real Dr. Ashford was probably wondering why she hadn't been picked up. "Walk us through your approach," the silver-haired man demanded. This was it. The moment where my elaborate house of cards would collapse. I thought about every terrible customer I'd ever served. Every entitled businessman who'd snapped his fingers at me. Every condescending sweetheart and honey I'd endured while slinging coffee. And something inside me clicked. Your resort is failing because you're selling to the wrong people, I said, my voice gaining strength. You're marketing luxury, but luxury is everywhere. You know what's rare? Authenticity, story, connection. I was making this up as I went along, but their faces showed interest. People don't want another generic 5-star resort. They want to feel something. They want to post pictures that make their friends jealous, sure. But more than that, they want to feel like they've discovered something real. And how exactly do you propose we manufacture authenticity? Silverhair sneered. You don't manufacture it, I shot back. You find it. The local culture, the family-owned tavernas, the hidden beaches. You make guests feel like insiders, not tourists. The room fell silent. Then Sterling spoke, his voice thoughtful. Go on. I did. For the next hour, I talked about experiential marketing, local partnerships, social media strategies, pulling from every travel blog I'd ever read during slow shifts at the cafe, every documentary I'd watched, every overheard conversation. And somehow, miraculously, they bought it. When the meeting finally ended, Sterling walked me out onto a terrace overlooking the ocean. The sun had set completely, and stars peppered the sky like diamonds on black velvet. That was impressive, he said quietly. Unexpected, but impressive. Unexpected. He turned to face me, leaning against the railing with an ease that came from owning everything around him. Your file said you were thorough, methodical. But in there, you were passionate, bold, almost reckless. My heart hammered. Is that a problem? No. He stepped closer, and suddenly the vast terrace felt very small. It's refreshing, like I said before. The ocean breeze carried his cologne, something expensive and woodsy that made my head spin. Dr. Ashford, he said, his voice dropping lower, I think this partnership is going to be very interesting. He was inches away now. Those storm-gray eyes were searching my face, and I knew that if he looked too closely, he'd see through my lies. I should go, I blurted out. Early flight tomorrow, lots to prepare. Something flickered across his face. Disappointment? Of course. I'll have Marcus drive you to the ferry. As I turned to leave, his hand caught my wrist, gentle but firm. One question, Doctor. Oh, God. This was it. He knew. Yes? Sterling smiled, slow and dangerous. Why do you smell like coffee? My brain froze. My mouth opened. Nothing came out. Sterling Blackwood stood there, still holding my wrist, waiting for an answer to why a supposedly high-powered consultant smelled like a Starbucks exploded on her. Think, Clem, think. I stopped at a coffee shop this morning. The barista was new, very enthusiastic. There was an incident with a French press. The lie tumbled out so smoothly I almost scared myself. His thumb brushed against my pulse point. Could he feel how fast my heart was racing? And then he released me with a soft chuckle. How unfortunate. Though I have to say, his eyes glinted with amusement, it's oddly humanizing. Most consultants I meet smell like ambition and overpriced cologne. And you? The words escaped before I could stop them. What do you smell like? The question hung in the air between us, far more intimate than I'd intended. Sterling's smile turned into something slower, more dangerous. Why don't you tell me, Dr. Ashford? We were standing too close, way too close. I could see the faint scar above his left eyebrow, the small imperfection that somehow made him more attractive. Old money and bad decisions, I said softly. He laughed, really laughed, and the sound did something catastrophic to my common sense. Perceptive. I like you, Doctor. Those 4 words shouldn't have affected me the way they did. Marcus, the driver, appeared at the perfect moment to save me from whatever was happening. The ferry ride back to Boston was a blur of panic and disbelief. By the time I stumbled into my shoebox apartment at midnight, reality hit like a freight train. I'd lied to a millionaire. I'd impersonated a professional consultant. I'd somehow convinced a board of directors that I knew what I was talking about. And worst of all, I had to do it again. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Dr. Ashford, I'll need you in my office Monday morning, 9 a.m. sharp. We have work to do. Sterling Blackwood. I stared at the message until my vision blurred. Monday was 3 days away. 3 days to become an expert in resort management, business consulting, and whatever the hell else the real Dr. Ashford knew. 3 days to learn how to be someone I wasn't. I did what any rational person would do. I panic Googled until 4 a.m. Monday morning arrived with the inevitability of an execution. I'd spent the entire weekend in the Boston Public Library, reading every business book I could find, watching YouTube videos about consulting strategies, and creating an entirely fictional background for Dr. Clementine Ashford. The outfit I'd assembled from 3 different thrift stores and one very expensive clearance sale made me look almost legitimate. Almost. Blackwood Industries occupied 15 floors of a glass tower in the financial district. The lobby alone was more intimidating than anything I'd ever experienced, all polished marble and the kind of aggressive minimalism that screamed, "Poor people not welcome." "Dr. Ashford?" A crisp voice made me turn. A woman who looked like she'd been born wearing Prada approached with a tablet and a skeptical expression. "I'm Miranda Chen, Mr. Blackwood's executive assistant. We spoke on the phone." No, we hadn't. She'd spoken to the real Dr. Ashford. But I smiled and extended my hand. "Pleasure to meet you in person." Her handshake was firm, assessing. "Mr. Blackwood is in a board meeting. He'll be free in 20 minutes. I'll show you to your office." My office. "Mr. Blackwood insisted you have workspace here while you're consulting on the Santorini project. Unusual, but he was very specific." She led me to a corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the harbor. My entire apartment could fit in here twice. "Coffee?" Miranda asked, hovering at the door. The irony wasn't lost on me. "Please. Black. No sugar." When she left, I sank into the leather chair and fought the urge to scream. 20 minutes later, Sterling walked in without knocking. He ditched the jacket, and his white shirt sleeves were rolled up to his elbows in a way that should be illegal. His dark hair was slightly disheveled, like he'd been running his hands through it. "Morning, Dr. Ashford." "Mr. Blackwood." He studied me with those unsettling gray eyes. "You changed your hair." My hand flew to my hair, which I'd straightened and pulled into a professional bun. "Needed a change," I said carefully. "I preferred it the other way. More—" He paused. "Real." The word hit me like a slap. Real. The one thing I wasn't being. "Shall we discuss the project?" I deflected. Sterling settled into the chair across from my desk. His desk, really. And suddenly we weren't employer and consultant. We were something else entirely. "Tell me, doctor," he said, his voice dropping into that dangerous register. "What made you become a consultant?" This wasn't business. This was personal. I thought about my real life. The exhaustion of serving entitled customers. The student loans I couldn't pay. The dreams I'd abandoned when my parents died and left me with nothing but debt. I wanted to fix things, I said, and for once it wasn't entirely a lie. I saw broken systems and thought I could make them better. Something shifted in his expression. "Noble. Most consultants I know just want the paycheck." "And you?" I countered. "Why build resorts? Why any of this?" He stood, walking to the window, his back to me. "My father built this company. I inherited it along with his reputation, his enemies, and his impossible expectations." He turned, and the vulnerability in his face caught me off guard. Sometimes I wonder if I'm fixing his broken systems, or just perpetuating them. The honesty was unexpected. Raw. "Maybe that's why you hired me," I said softly. To see things differently. Sterling walked back to the desk, leaning forward, his hands flat on the surface between us, close enough that I could see gold flecks in his gray eyes. Maybe I hired you because something about you feels real in a world full of carefully constructed facades. My heart stopped. If only he knew the irony. Mr. Blackwood. Sterling, he interrupted. If we're going to work together, let's dispense with formalities. Sterling, I tested the name on my tongue. We should keep this professional. Should we? He smiled, slow and devastating. Where's the fun in that, Clementine? The way he said my real name, made my blood run cold. I prefer Dr. Ashford, I managed. Do you? He tilted his head. Because I did some research this weekend, called your firm, spoke to your partner. Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. And? My voice was barely a whisper. Sterling's smile was pure wickedness. And I'm very much looking forward to working with you, whoever you really are. The office suddenly felt airless. Sterling Blackwood stood on the other side of the desk, looking at me like a cat who'd cornered a very stupid mouse, a devastatingly handsome, expensive suit-wearing cat. I can explain, I started. Can you? He moved around the desk with predatory grace. Because I'm fascinated to hear how a waitress from Brendan's Cafe ended up in my helicopter pretending to be a Harvard-educated consultant. My legs wobbled. How did you... The coffee smell was the first clue. Too authentic. He perched on the edge of the desk, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating from him. Then there was your passion about authenticity and real experiences. Most consultants pitch data and algorithms. You pitched heart. I should run. Sprint out of this office and never look back. Instead, I lifted my chin. So why didn't you throw me out of the helicopter mid-flight? Sterling's laugh was low, dangerous. And miss the most entertaining board meeting I've had in 5 years, please. This is hilarious to you? I committed fraud. Did you? He leaned closer. You gave solid advice. The board loved your proposal. Even Richard, who hates everyone, called you refreshingly unorthodox. But I'm not qualified. I serve coffee for a living. You also, he said softly, understood in 30 seconds what my expensive consultants couldn't grasp in 3 months. People don't want corporate luxury. They want something real. The sincerity in his voice made my chest ache. Why are you doing this? I whispered. You should call security. Sterling reached out, his fingers brushing a strand of hair that had escaped my bun. The gesture was so gentle it made my breath catch. Because Clementine Holloway, yes, I know your real name. You're either the most audacious con artist I've ever met, or you're exactly what I need. I'm not a con artist. Prove it. His eyes challenged mine. Work with me. Really work with me. Bring that fire you showed the board. You're insane. I have 0 qualifications. You have something better. He stood, pulling me up with him until we were face to face. You see past the bullshit. Do you know how rare that is in my world? Sterling. His name felt dangerous on my lips. 1 month, he said. Give me 1 month. Help me fix the Santorini resort. If you fail, you walk away. If you succeed... His thumb traced my jawline. We'll negotiate terms. And if I say no, then I'll call your boss at Brendan's, tell him what happened, and you'll lose your job. He paused. But you won't say no. Confident, aren't you? Sterling smiled. You didn't get in that helicopter to deliver coffee, Clem. You got in because some part of you is tired of being invisible, tired of serving other people's dreams. Am I wrong? He wasn't wrong. That was the terrifying part. What's in it for you? I asked. Really? His expression shifted, something vulnerable breaking through the polished exterior. Honestly, I'm so tired of people telling me what they think I want to hear. You don't know who you're supposed to be yet, which means you're honest by default. That's the most backwards logic I've ever heard. Welcome to my world. He extended his hand. Do we have a deal? I looked at his hand, at his face, at the impossible offer. My practical brain screamed this was career suicide. My student loans wouldn't pay themselves. I'd get caught, humiliated, possibly arrested. But my heart, my stupid, reckless heart, remembered how it felt to pitch ideas and have people listen, to feel smart, valuable, seen. 1 month, I said, taking his hand. But I have conditions. His eyebrow arched. You're negotiating? You said I was refreshingly unorthodox. Sterling's grin was pure trouble. Name them. First, I keep my job at the cafe. I need the money, and I'm not putting all my eggs in your insane basket. Done. Though I'm paying you a consulting fee that'll make your cafe salary look like pocket change. My eyes widened. Second condition, nobody else can know I'm not really Dr. Ashford. Miranda already suspects something's off. Then convince her otherwise. You're good at lying, apparently. Takes one to know one, Clem. The nickname in his voice made my stomach flip. Third, I continued, trying to stay focused. We keep this professional. No, whatever this is. I gestured between us. Sterling stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. Define this. You know what I mean. Do I? His hand found the small of my back. Because I think there's something here, something real, ironic, given we're both pretending to be people we're not. You're not pretending, I protested weakly. Aren't I? His breath was warm against my ear. Sterling Blackwood, fearless CEO, master of the universe. That's as much a role as Dr. Ashford. The difference is, I've been playing it so long I forgot who I was underneath. The confession was so raw, so honest, that I forgot to breathe. Sterling, 1 month, Clem. Help me remember what real feels like. I'll make it worth your while. His lips were inches from mine. All I had to do was lean forward. Instead, I stepped back. Professional, I said firmly, even as my body screamed in protest. Or no deal. Sterling studied me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Professional. Got it. But his smile said he didn't believe it any more than I did. Miranda's waiting outside to brief you on the Santorini project details, he said, returning to business mode so seamlessly it gave me whiplash. You'll need to fly there next week. See the resort firsthand. Fly where? To Greece? Is that a problem? Only that I'd never left Massachusetts. Only that my passport expired 2 years ago. Only that this whole situation was spiraling into complete insanity. No problem at all, I lied smoothly. I was getting way too good at that. As I reached the door, Sterling called out, Clem? I turned. Thank you, he said quietly, for getting in that helicopter, for not running when you had the chance. Something in his expression made my heart twist. He looked young suddenly, uncertain, human. Thank you for not throwing me out of it, I replied. His laugh followed me into the hallway, where Miranda waited with her tablet and a knowing look. So, she said coolly, should I book you a first-class ticket to Santorini, Dr. Ashford, or would you prefer to fly commercial like the rest of us mortals? She knew. She absolutely knew. Surprise me, I said with more confidence than I felt. Miranda's smile was sharp. Oh, I think Mr. Blackwood already has. Welcome to Blackwood Industries. Try not to break his heart. The last consultant who did ended up in Milwaukee. She walked away before I could ask if she was joking. Somehow, I didn't think she was. Turns out, getting an emergency passport takes exactly 5 days, costs more than my monthly rent, and requires lying to a federal employee about why I needed it so urgently. Business trip, I'd told the clerk at the passport office, technically not lying since I was pretending to do business. My moral compass was getting seriously confused. The week before Greece was a fever dream of cramming business terminology, watching documentaries about luxury resorts, and somehow managing to not get fired from Brendan's cafe while secretly consulting for a millionaire. You look different, Brendan commented on Wednesday, eyeing me suspiciously as I made a cappuccino. Happier, less dead inside. Gee, thanks. No, seriously. You're glowing. Did you meet someone? I nearly dropped the milk frother. What? No, I'm just sleeping better. Another lie. I wasn't sleeping at all. Every night I lay awake thinking about storm-gray eyes and impossible situations. My phone buzzed. Sterling, again. Dinner tonight? Need to discuss resort demographics. That was the 5th business dinner this week. Each one lasted 3 hours and involved more wine than data analysis. Can't. Working, I typed back. At the cafe? I'll come to you. My heart stopped. No, absolutely not. Afraid I'll blow your cover? Afraid you'll be insufferable. Wait, never mind, too late. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. I'm growing on you. Admit it. I stared at the message, my traitorous smile giving away everything I didn't want to feel. Like a fungus, I replied. I'll take it. See you at 8. We're discussing branding strategies. Clem, Brendan shouted. Stop texting your boyfriend and help Mrs. I. Patterson, she's having an existential crisis about oat milk again. I shoved my phone away, but the warmth in my chest lingered. Sterling showed up at Brendan's cafe at exactly 8 p.m., looking completely out of place in his tailored suit among the hipsters and college students. Every head turned. Of course they did. He slid into a corner booth, and I approached with my server pad, trying to look professional. Welcome to Brendan's. Can I start you with... You, he interrupted, his eyes dancing with amusement. I'll start with you. That's not on the menu. Pity. He leaned back, utterly relaxed. Surprise me then? What do you recommend? The exit? I suggested sweetly. A customer 2 tables over snorted into her latte. Sterling's grin widened. I'll have whatever you think I need, Clem. The way he said my name made my knees weak. I brought him black coffee, strong, bitter, no nonsense, and a slice of apple pie. He took 1 sip and raised an eyebrow. This is excellent. Shocked that a lowly cafe worker knows how to make coffee. Shocked that you've been hiding here when you could be anywhere. His expression turned serious. Why do you stay? The question caught me off guard. It's a job. I need money. That's not an answer. I sat down across from him. Technically against cafe policy, but Brendan was in the back doing inventory. My parents died when I was 19, I said quietly. Car accident. They left me debt instead of inheritance. College became impossible, so I took the first job I could find and never left. Sterling's hand covered mine on the table. I'm sorry. Don't be. It taught me something valuable. What? How to make a damn good cappuccino. I tried to joke, but my voice cracked. Clem. His thumb traced circles on my wrist. You know you're brilliant, right? That presentation you gave wasn't luck. It was insight, raw talent. I was terrified. The best ideas come from terror. He smiled. Trust me, I built a company on it. Your father's company, I corrected. Something dark flickered across his face. You've been researching me. Of course I have. Know thy enemy. Is that what I am? Your enemy? The air between us crackled with electricity. I don't know what you are, I admitted. This whole thing is insane. The best things usually are. He pulled out his phone, sliding it across the table. Flight details. We leave for Santorini Friday morning. Private jet, naturally. Naturally, I echoed faintly. Sterling, what if I fail? What if I get there and everyone realizes I have no idea what I'm doing? Then we fail together. He said it so simply, like it was obvious. I'm not setting you up to fall, Clem. I'm betting on you. Why? Because 3 weeks ago, a terrified waitress got in a helicopter to deliver coffee and ended up pitching the best business strategy I've heard in years. If that's not potential, I don't know what is. My eyes burned. You're insane. Probably, but I'm insane with excellent instincts. He stood, leaving $200 on the table for a $5 coffee and pie. Keep the change. Consider it a signing bonus. Sterling, he leaned down, his lips brushing my ear. Pack light for Greece. And Clem? Yes. Bring a swimsuit. The resort has an amazing pool. We should test it, for research purposes. He left before I could form a coherent response. Brendan emerged from the back, staring. Who was that? A customer, I managed. A customer who looks at you like you're the only person in the universe. Clem, if you don't date him, I will. You're married, Brendan. Tom will understand. That man is criminally attractive. He wasn't wrong. Friday morning arrived with devastating clarity. I stood in my tiny apartment, staring at a suitcase containing 3 thrift store outfits and a Target swimsuit, trying not to hyperventilate. My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Miss Holloway? An unfamiliar male voice. This is Detective Marcus Chen, Boston PD. We need to talk about your recent activities with Sterling Blackwood. My blood turned to ice. What? Mr. Blackwood has filed several legal documents with your name. We're investigating potential fraud. The room spun. This was it. I was going to jail. I can explain. Laughter erupted on the other end. Sterling's laughter. You asshole, I screamed. Your face right now must be priceless, he gasped between laughs. Wish I could see it. That wasn't funny. It was hilarious. I'm outside, by the way. Your chariot awaits. I looked out the window. A black car idled at the curb. I hate you, I informed him. You really don't. Hurry up. Greece is waiting. I grabbed my pathetic suitcase and headed downstairs, my heart hammering with equal parts terror and excitement. Sterling leaned against the car, looking unfairly gorgeous in dark jeans and a white button-down. Casual rich. The worst kind. Ready for your adventure, Dr. Ashford? Ready to murder you, Mr. Blackwood. He opened the car door with a bow. As long as you do it in Greece. The views are spectacular for homicide. Against my better judgment, I laughed. As we drove toward the airport, Sterling's hand found mine in the darkness of the back seat. Hey, he said softly. You've got this. We'll see. We will. His fingers squeezed mine. Together. And despite everything, the lies, the fear, the impossibility of it all, I believed him. Which was either the smartest or stupidest thing I'd ever done. Given my track record, probably both. Santorini was obscenely beautiful. Like, aggressively, offensively gorgeous in a way that made my Target swimsuit feel even more inadequate. White buildings cascaded down volcanic cliffs. The Aegean Sea sparkled impossibly blue. Bougainvillea exploded in purple and pink everywhere. It looked like a postcard had thrown up on reality. Close your mouth, Clem, Sterling murmured as we stepped off his private jet. You're supposed to be a world-traveled consultant. Right. Totally unimpressed. I tried for nonchalance while internally screaming. The resort, Azure Dreams, sat on the edge of a cliff with views that made my soul hurt. It was stunning. Empty, but stunning. There's the problem. Sterling gestured to the deserted pool, the vacant restaurant, the lonely beach chairs. Paradise with no one to enjoy it. A wiry man in an expensive linen shirt rushed over, anxiety radiating from every pore. Mr. Blackwood, Dr. Ashford, welcome. His accent was thick with panic. I'm Dimitris, the resort manager. I've prepared reports, occupancy data, everything you requested. Relax, Dimitris. Sterling's hand landed reassuringly on the man's shoulder. We're here to help, not fire anyone. Yet, his tone implied. Dimitris led us through the property, rattling off statistics about vacancy rates and marketing campaigns, while I tried to look knowledgeable instead of completely overwhelmed. The resort was perfect. Too perfect. Every corner looked like it had been designed by someone who'd never actually vacationed anywhere. It's soulless, I said suddenly. Everyone stopped. Excuse me? Dimitris looked wounded. It's beautiful, I clarified quickly. But it has no personality, no story. It could be anywhere. Maldives, Caribbean, Miami. Where's Santorini in all this? Sterling's eyes gleamed with approval. Go on. People come to Greece, for the culture, the history, the local flavor. But this place, I gestured around, it's like a luxury hotel wearing a Santorini costume. Dimitris deflated. The corporate design team wanted universal appeal. Universal appeal means universally forgettable. I walked to the restaurant, studying the generic Mediterranean menu. Where's the family recipes? The local wines? The grandmother's secret moussaka? We have moussaka, Dimitris protested. Made by a Greek grandmother who'll tell guests stories about her village while serving it? Silence. Sterling moved beside me, his voice low and amused. You're enjoying this? Maybe. I couldn't help smiling. Is it wrong that tearing apart a luxury resort feels therapeutic? Considering you serve coffee to people who don't say thank you? No, it's probably healthy. Our eyes met, and something electric passed between us. Mr. Blackwood, Dimitris interrupted nervously. Perhaps Dr. Ashford would like to rest? You're in the honeymoon suite, the executive suite. 2 bedrooms, separate bedrooms. Sterling's lips twitched. Subtle, Dimitris. The executive suite was essentially a small villa with a private infinity pool overlooking the caldera. It was the kind of place Instagram influencers would murder someone to photograph. 2 bedrooms, Sterling confirmed, dropping his bag in the living area. Though that couch looks comfortable if you'd prefer The bedroom is fine. I cut him off before this conversation went somewhere dangerous. We're professionals. Right, professionals. He said it like the word was hilarious. I escaped to my room, which was bigger than my apartment, and tried not to think about Sterling shirtless by the private pool. Failed miserably. My phone buzzed. Brendan. Mrs. Patterson asked about you. Said she sensed a disturbance in your aura. Should I be worried? Tell her my aura is fine and in Greece. Greece? Clem, the mystery man took you to Greece. It's for work. Work, sure. Send pictures. Tom doesn't believe you're real. I snapped a photo of the view and sent it. I hate you, Brendan replied immediately. But also, live your best life. You deserve this. Did I, though? I was still lying, still pretending, still one wrong word away from disaster. A knock on my door interrupted my spiral. Sterling stood there, changed into swim trunks and an unbuttoned linen shirt that should be illegal. Research time, he announced. We need to test the pool. Sterling, you said we need to understand the guest experience. Can't do that from inside. His smile was pure trouble. Unless you're scared? Of you? Please. Then prove it. 5 minutes later, I was in my Target swimsuit, a simple black one-piece that suddenly felt incredibly inadequate, standing by the infinity pool while Sterling floated lazily, looking like a cologne ad. Water's perfect, he called. Stop overthinking and get in. I dove in before I could chicken out. The water was blood warm, and the view of the sunset over the caldera was so beautiful it hurt. Sterling swam over, water droplets catching the golden light on his shoulders. See? Not so bad. It's okay, I lied, trying to ignore how close he was. Just okay, Clem. We're in an infinity pool in Santorini watching the sunset. That's at least a 7 out of 10. Fine, 7.5. What would make it a 10? You kissing me, my brain supplied unhelpfully. Better wine selection, I said instead. The bar downstairs only has commercial brands. Where's the local vineyard partnerships? Sterling laughed, the sound echoing across the water. You're incredible. Even here, you're working. That's what you're paying me for. I'm not paying you to be here right now in this pool with me. His voice dropped lower. This is off the clock. Sterling. My voice came out breathy. He moved closer, his hands finding my waist in the water. Tell me to stop and I will. I should tell him to stop. Should remember we agreed on professional. Should remember I was living a lie. Instead, I whispered, "What if I don't want you to?" His eyes darkened. "Then I'd say we're both in trouble." The sun painted everything gold and pink. The water lapped gently around us. Sterling's thumb traced circles on my hip underwater, and I forgot how to breathe. "Clem," he murmured, "I know you're scared. I know this is complicated. But what I feel when I'm with you—" "Mr. Blackwood," Demetrius's voice shattered the moment like a grenade. We sprang apart as the manager appeared on the terrace, waving papers frantically. "I'm so sorry to interrupt, but there's a problem. The real Dr. Ashford's office called. They said she's been trying to reach you all week. Something about a scheduling conflict and—" The world stopped. Sterling's face was unreadable. "I'll handle it, Demetrius. Give us a moment." The manager scurried away, and I wanted to sink to the bottom of the pool and stay there. "Sterling, It's fine." His voice was carefully neutral. "I knew this would happen eventually." "You knew?" "I called her office myself last week. Explained there was a mix-up. Paid her firm a consultation fee for the inconvenience." He ran a hand through his wet hair. "Did you really think I'd let you drown?" The confession hit me like a wave. You protected me?" "Of course I did." He looked at me like I was stupid for even asking. "Clem, I told you. I'm betting on you. Not some credentials on paper." "But why? Why risk your reputation for a waitress who lied her way into your helicopter?" Sterling swam closer, cupping my face in his wet hands. "Because that waitress sees things my expensive consultants miss. Because she's brave and brilliant and real. Because when I'm with her, I remember why I wanted to build things in the first place." Tears mixed with pool water on my cheeks. "I'm terrified of disappointing you." "Impossible." His forehead touched mine. "You couldn't if you tried." "Sterling." "Shut up, Clem," he whispered. And then his lips were on mine. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, like he was giving me space to pull away. But I didn't pull away. I wrapped my arms around his neck and kissed him back like I was drowning, and he was air. When we finally broke apart, both gasping, the sun had set completely. Stars dotted the darkening sky. "So much for professional," I breathed. Sterling's laugh was low and warm. "Screw professional. I want real." "Even though I'm a fraud?" "You're not a fraud. You're a miracle I didn't know I needed." He kissed me again, slower this time. "Stay with me, Clem, not as Dr. Ashford, as you. And if I fail, if I can't fix this resort, then we'll fail spectacularly and figure it out together." He made it sound so simple, so possible. Maybe it was, or maybe I was just tired of being afraid. Either way, I kissed him again under the Greek stars and decided that some risks were worth taking. Even the terrifying ones. Turns out, transforming a soulless luxury resort takes more than kissing a billionaire under the stars. Though it definitely didn't hurt. For 2 weeks, we worked. Actually worked. I dragged Sterling to local villages, charming grandmothers into sharing recipes. We hired local musicians, partnered with family vineyards, replaced the generic spa with traditional Greek treatments using island herbs. The resort slowly came alive with personality. And somewhere between olive oil tastings and negotiations with fishermen, I fell completely, terrifyingly in love with Sterling Blackwood. "Try this," he said one afternoon, offering me a bite of fresh baklava from Maria, the grandmother we'd hired as head chef. I took the bite, and honey dripped onto my chin. Sterling's thumb caught it, his eyes dark with something that had nothing to do with pastry. "You have a little—" He leaned in, kissing the corner of my mouth. "Something right there." "We're working," I protested weakly. "We're taste testing. Very professional." Maria cackled from the kitchen. "You two, like my Stavros and me when we were young, all fire and honey." Sterling grinned, pulling me closer. "I like her." "Everyone likes you here," I observed. It's annoying. Jealous? Extremely. I kissed him properly, not caring who saw. The resort bookings started climbing. 20% occupancy, then 40, then 60. You did this, Sterling told me one evening as we reviewed the numbers on the terrace. We did this, I corrected. No, Clem. You saw what I couldn't. You gave this place a soul. He pulled me onto his lap, the laptop forgotten. You're brilliant. Why can't you see that? Because 3 weeks ago I was serving coffee and lying about my name. And now you're transforming a failing resort and dating a devastatingly handsome CEO. Character growth. His lips found my neck. I'm very proud. I laughed, tilting my head to give him better access. Your humility is inspiring. I have many inspiring qualities. Let me list them. My phone exploded with notifications. Then Sterling's. Then the resort's main line started ringing. Dimitri's burst onto the terrace, tablet in hand, face white as paper. Mr. Blackwood, we have a situation. Sterling tensed beneath me. What kind of situation? A journalist, investigative reporter. She's published an article about Azure Dreams. Dimitri's hands shook. About Dr. Ashford. Ice flooded my veins. Sterling grabbed the tablet. I watched his face as he read, watched the color drain, watched his jaw clench tighter and tighter. Sterling. My voice was small. He handed me the tablet without looking at me. The headline screamed, Blackwood's billion-dollar fraud. CEO hires fake consultant to save failing resort. My hands trembled as I read. Sources confirm that Dr. Clementine Ashford, the consultant credited with Azure Dreams' recent turnaround, is actually Clementine Holloway, a cafe waitress with no business credentials. Questions arise about Sterling Blackwood's judgment and potential fraud charges. There was a photo, me in my cafe uniform serving coffee. Next to it, me at the resort in business attire. How did they? I started. Someone talked. Sterling's voice was ice. Someone on my team or yours sold this story. I don't have a team! Sterling, I'm so sorry, Mr. Blackwood, Dimitri's interrupted. Your father is calling, and the board, and everyone. Sterling stood abruptly, dumping me off his lap. The physical distance felt like a chasm. I need to handle this, he said, not meeting my eyes. Let me help. You've helped enough. The words were sharp, brutal. Just stay here. Don't talk to anyone. He walked away, phone already to his ear, leaving me standing on the terrace with Dimitri's looking at me like I'd murdered someone. Maybe I had. Sterling's reputation, his company, everything. I didn't see Sterling for 18 hours. I stayed in the villa, watching my phone explode with notifications. News sites picked up the story. Twitter had a field day. Someone created a meme of me in my cafe apron with the caption, "Fake it till you make it, a masterclass." The resort guests started checking out early. Maria found me crying by the pool at dawn. You, she said firmly, sitting beside me. You are the girl who brought my Stavros's recipes to this place, who made people care about our village. I'm a fraud, Maria. You are a girl with fire. She gripped my hand. Whatever happens, you gave these people something real. Don't forget that. But what did it matter if I'd destroyed Sterling in the process? He finally appeared at noon, still in yesterday's clothes, exhaustion carved into his face. Sterling. The board wants me to resign, he said flatly. Unless I can prove this wasn't intentional fraud. My father called me an embarrassment. Richard is pushing for a full investigation. My heart shattered. This is my fault. Yes. His eyes were cold. It is. The agreement hurt worse than any accusation. I never meant, didn't you? He laughed bitterly. You lied from the beginning. Got in my helicopter, played a role, let me fall for. He stopped himself. I defended you to everyone, told them you were brilliant, that credentials didn't matter. And now I look like a fool. You're not a fool. The resort is succeeding. The numbers don't matter if the whole thing was built on lies. He ran his hands through his hair. I trusted you, Clem. I believed in you. I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. His phone rang again. He glanced at it, jaw tight. That's my lawyer. I have to go. What do I do? Go home. He finally met my eyes, and the emptiness there killed me. Pack your things. Leave. It's over. Sterling, please. There's a car waiting. It'll take you to the airport. His voice was mechanical. Goodbye, Clementine. He walked away without looking back. I stood there, the Greek sun mocking me with its beauty, and felt my world collapse. The flight home was a blur of tears and cheap airplane wine. Brendan picked me up from the airport, took one look at my face, and just hugged me without questions. That bad? He finally asked. Worse. My apartment felt smaller than ever. My phone had 400 unread messages, reporters mostly, and one from Miranda Chen. For what it's worth, you actually helped. The resort numbers don't lie, but Sterling's not ready to hear that. Give him time. MC. Time. Like that would fix anything. I spent 3 days in bed ignoring the world, until Brendan physically dragged me to the cafe. You're not quitting life because of one man, he informed me, even an obscenely hot billionaire. I destroyed his career, Brendan. Did you? Or did you show him what real passion looks like, and now he's scared? I wanted to believe that, desperately. But Sterling's empty eyes haunted me. On the 4th day, Mrs. Patterson came in for her existential cappuccino. You're the fraud girl, she said cheerfully. I always liked you. Takes guts to lie to a billionaire. Thanks, I said weakly. You know what your problem is? She leaned in conspiratorially. You're waiting for him to forgive you. But have you forgiven yourself? The question sat in my chest like a stone. That night, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Miss Holloway? A woman's crisp voice. This is Catherine from the Athens Tourism Board. We saw what you did with Azure Dreams. The authentic approach, the local partnerships. We'd like to hire you to consult on 3 other properties. I nearly dropped the phone. You... What? You might have lied about credentials, but the results speak for themselves. Are you interested? Was I? Could I really do this? Build something real from the ashes of my biggest mistake? I need to make something right first, I said slowly. Can I call you back? Take your time, Miss Holloway. Real talent is worth waiting for. I hung up and stared at my reflection in the dark window. Sterling said it was over. But maybe I wasn't done fighting yet. I flew back to Boston on my own dime, on 3 maxed-out credit cards, with a plan that was either genius or completely insane. Probably both. Sterling's board meeting was scheduled for Friday, the one where they'd vote on his future. I had 48 hours. You're really doing this? Brendan asked, watching me print documents at the cafe. I ruined his life. I'm fixing it. By crashing a corporate board meeting? Clem, they'll have security. Then I'll be very persuasive. Miranda Chen was my first call. You have guts calling me, she said coolly. I need to get into that board meeting. Silence. Then, why would I help you? Because you saw the numbers. You know what we built in Santorini was real. And because Sterling's miserable without me, and you're too professional to watch your boss self-destruct. More silence. The meeting is at 2 p.m. Security changes shift at 1:45. There's a service elevator. I'm texting you the code. Miranda, make it count, Holloway. He deserves better than moping around like a lovesick teenager. She hung up. The code came through 30 seconds later. Blackwood Industries' boardroom was exactly as intimidating as I'd imagined. All glass and steel and people who could buy small countries. Sterling sat at the head of the table, looking exhausted. His suit was immaculate, but I could see the shadows under his eyes, the tension in his shoulders. He looked up as I burst through the doors, and his face went through shock, anger, and something that might have been hope before settling on furious. "What are you doing here?" "Saving your ass," I announced, dropping my stack of papers on the polished table. "Sorry I'm late. Traffic." Richard, the silver-haired board member who hated everyone, stood abruptly. "Someone call security." "This woman is going to show you why you're all idiots for considering firing Sterling Blackwood," I finished. "Sit down, Richard. I have charts." The audacity worked. Everyone froze. "Clem," Sterling's voice was strained, "you need to leave." "No." I met his eyes. "You let me pitch a fake business strategy. Let me pitch a real defense." Miss Holloway, the sharp-faced woman, Victoria, said icily, "You have no authority here. You're the fraud who created this mess." "You're right. I am a fraud. I lied about my credentials, impersonated a consultant, and somehow convinced you all I knew what I was doing." I turned to the projection screen, connecting my laptop. But here's the thing. It worked. Numbers flooded the screen. Before and after data from Azure Dreams. 3 months ago, that resort had 12% occupancy. Today, 73% and climbing. Revenue is up 3840%. Guest satisfaction scores went from 3.2 to 4.8 stars. We're booked solid through next summer. "Built on lies," Richard spat. "Built on understanding what people actually want." I clicked to the next slide. Guest reviews, all praising the authentic local experience. Sterling didn't hire a fake consultant. He hired someone who saw what you all missed. Someone who understood that luxury isn't about marble and thread counts. It's about connection. "Passionate speech," Victoria said, "doesn't change the fact that you lied." "You're right. I lied about my credentials. But Sterling didn't lie about anything." I looked at him, my heart in my throat. He took a chance on unconventional thinking. He partnered with local communities. He built something real in a world of corporate facades. That's not fraud. That's innovation. "The press," someone started. "The press loves a scandal. But you know what they'll love more? The success story. The CEO who saw talent where others saw credentials. Who trusted instinct over resumes." I pulled up my final slide. 3 other resorts have contacted me for consultation. The Athens Tourism Board wants to replicate our model. Sterling didn't make a mistake. He started a revolution. The room fell silent. Sterling stood, his eyes locked on mine. "Clem, I'm not done." My voice shook. "You all want to fire Sterling because he trusted me. But the real question is, do you trust results? Because the numbers don't lie. Azure Dreams is thriving. And it's thriving because Sterling Blackwood had the guts to bet on something real instead of playing it safe." I turned to Sterling directly. "You told me I was brilliant. That credentials didn't matter. That what mattered was seeing past the bullshit. Well, I'm asking you all to do the same. Look past the scandal and see what we actually built." Richard leaned back, studying me. "You have nerve, Miss Holloway. I'm from Boston. We're born with it." A few board members actually smiled. Victoria spoke next. "The question remains, can we trust Sterling's judgment after this?" "You've trusted it for 5 years," Sterling said quietly, speaking for the first time. "One unconventional hire doesn't negate a proven track record." "One fraudulent hire," Richard corrected. "She's not fraudulent." Sterling's voice was firm. "She's exactly who I needed. And if you can't see that, then maybe I don't want to work for a board that values paperwork over results." The ultimatum hung in the air. "Sterling," I whispered. "No, Clem. You stood up for me. My turn." He looked at each board member. "I'm proud of what we built in Santorini. Proud of taking a risk. If that's grounds for dismissal, then so be it." Richard and Victoria exchanged glances. "The numbers are impressive," Victoria admitted slowly. "And the press will spin this however we want," another board member added. "Innovative thinking, fresh approach, could work in our favor." Richard sighed heavily. "Motion to table the resignation discussion." pending continued success at Azure Dreams. Seconded, Victoria said. The vote was unanimous. Sterling's shoulders sagged with relief. Meeting adjourned, Richard announced. And Miss Holloway? I turned. That was one hell of a pitch. Ever consider business school? Despite everything, I laughed. I'll think about it. The board filed out, leaving Sterling and me alone in the massive room. You came back, he said softly. Of course I came back. I love you, you idiot. The words hung between us. Sterling crossed the distance in 3 strides, cupping my face in his hands. Say that again. You're an idiot? The other part. I love you. Tears spilled over. I'm sorry I lied. Sorry I almost destroyed everything. But I'd do it all again if it meant having those 2 weeks with you. Clem. His thumbs wiped my tears. I love you too. Real, messy, complicated you. Not some perfect consultant. You. Even though I'm a cafe waitress with no credentials. Especially because of that. He kissed me, soft and sweet and full of promise. You're the bravest person I know. And I was an idiot for letting you go. We both were idiots. Perfect for each other then. I laughed through my tears, and he kissed me again, deeper this time. When we finally pulled apart, Sterling rested his forehead against mine. So, he murmured, what now? Now? I smiled. Now you're going to pay for my business school tuition. And I'm going to transform every soulless resort you own. Deal. But I have one condition. What? His smile was pure trouble. Marry me. My heart stopped. Sterling. Not now. When you're ready. When you've proven to yourself what I already know. That you're extraordinary. He kissed my nose. But know that I'm asking. And I'll keep asking until you say yes. You're insane. You've mentioned that before. And arrogant. Also previously established. And I'm absolutely going to say yes. His grin could have powered the entire city. Yeah? Eventually, after you grovel appropriately. Sterling laughed, spinning me around the boardroom. I can work with that. And as I kissed him in that cold corporate space, turning it warm with possibility, I realized something. Sometimes the biggest mistakes lead to the best adventures. Sometimes fake becomes real. And sometimes a girl from a cafe in Boston finds exactly where she belongs, in the arms of a billionaire who saw past the lies to the truth underneath. 2 years later. The headline in Business Insider read, From Waitress to Millionaire, How Clementine Holloway Revolutionized Luxury Tourism. I folded the magazine and set it on the cafe table, smiling at the irony. Still surreal? Brendan asked, refilling my coffee. Completely. I glanced around Brendan's cafe, newly renovated, expanded, and now a successful chain with 3 locations. Remember when I couldn't pay rent? Remember when you came back from Greece looking like someone killed your puppy? He grinned. Character growth, I'm so proud. The door chimed. Sterling walked in, impossibly handsome in jeans and a sweater, carrying a bouquet of wildflowers. Mrs. Patterson says your aura is disgustingly radiant, he announced, kissing me thoroughly. I think she's jealous. Mrs. Patterson has been married for 40 years. She's living her romance through us. Smart woman. He slid into the booth across from me. How's the Harvard application going? I'd finally applied to business school. Turned out, transforming 7 international resorts and building a consulting firm from scratch made for a compelling admissions essay, even without fake credentials. Interview next week. I'm terrified. You'll be brilliant. Sterling's hand found mine across the table. You always are. 2 years. 2 years since that insane helicopter ride changed everything. Azure Dreams was now the highest-rated resort in Santorini. We'd replicated the model across Sterling's entire portfolio. Authentic experiences, local partnerships, real connections. Revenue was up 400% across the board. I'd started my own consulting firm, Holloway & Associates, Real results, real people. The irony of the name wasn't lost on anyone. 3 employees so far, all brilliant women who'd been overlooked by traditional firms. Sterling had stepped back from day-to-day operations, focusing on sustainable development and community partnerships. Turns out, the cold CEO persona had been as fake as my credentials. The real Sterling was passionate about making meaningful impact. We'd bought a brownstone in Back Bay, close enough to the cafe that I could walk over when I missed the chaos. "You ready for tonight?" Sterling asked, his eyes twinkling with mischief. Tonight. The anniversary of the helicopter incident, as we'd come to call it. Depends. Are you finally going to tell me where we're going? Nope. It's a surprise. He kissed my knuckles. Wear something nice and pack a bag. Sterling. Trust me. I did. Completely. Even when it terrified me. The helicopter, because of course there was a helicopter, landed on Martha's vineyard at sunset. Sea glass had been transformed. Lights twinkled in the trees. Music drifted on the ocean breeze. And there, on the terrace where we'd first worked together, stood everyone I loved. Brendan and Tom. Miranda Chen, now my business partner. Maria from Santorini via video call. Dimitri's, beaming proudly. Even Mrs. Patterson, critiquing the decorations. Surprise, Sterling whispered. What is this? Well, he led me through the crowd. I figured 2 years ago, a terrified waitress took a chance on me. Seemed only fair I returned the favor. We reached the center of the terrace. The sun painted everything gold. Sterling dropped to one knee. My hands flew to my mouth. Clementine Holloway, he said, pulling out a ring that caught the light like captured stars. You crashed into my life with fake credentials and a coffee-stained apron. You challenged everything I thought I knew. You made me remember what it feels like to be real. Tears streamed down my face. You told me to grovel appropriately. So I'm groveling in front of everyone who matters. Clem, you are the bravest, most brilliant, most infuriatingly stubborn person I've ever met. And I want to spend the rest of my life proving that taking a chance on each other was the smartest thing we ever did. He opened the ring box. Will you marry me? For real this time? I laughed through my tears. That depends. His eyebrow arched. On what? Do I have to take your last name? Because Clementine Blackwood sounds like a Victorian villain. Sterling threw his head back and laughed. We'll hyphenate. Holloway Blackwood. Very modern. And we're keeping the cafe as an investment? Already drawn up the papers. And you promise to never ever make me pretend to be someone I'm not again? His expression softened. Clem, you're perfect exactly as you are. Waitress, consultant, future wife, you're everything. I pulled him to his feet and kissed him as everyone cheered. Yes, I whispered against his lips. 1,000 times yes. He slipped the ring on my finger, and it fit perfectly. Of course it did. I love you, Sterling murmured. My brilliant, impossible, real girl. I love you too, my arrogant, generous, ridiculous man. Maria's voice crackled over the video call. You two, just like Stavros and me, all fire and honey. The party lasted until dawn. Stories were shared, toasts were made, and somewhere between the champagne and the dancing, Sterling pulled me aside. Happy? He asked. I looked at the ring on my finger, at the friends celebrating, at the man who'd seen past my lies to the truth underneath. Deliriously, I admitted. Good, because I have another surprise. Sterling, I can't handle more surprises. He pulled out an envelope. The real Dr. Ashford, she's retiring. Her firm wants to sell. I was thinking we could buy it, merge it with yours. Holloway Ashford Consulting. I stared at him. You want to buy the firm I impersonated? The irony is beautiful, right? His grin was pure trouble. What do you say, partner? What did I say? To a future I never dreamed possible? To a man who turned my biggest mistake into my greatest adventure? I say you're insane. You've mentioned that. And I say yes, to all of it. The firm, the marriage, the ridiculously complicated, beautiful life we're building. Sterling kissed me as the sun rose over the Atlantic, painting the sky in impossible colors. 2 years ago, I delivered coffee to the wrong address and accidentally fell into a helicopter. Now, I was building an empire, marrying a billionaire, and living a life so extraordinary it felt like fiction. The best part? It was all real. Every messy, imperfect, beautiful moment of it. 6 months later, I stood in a Harvard Business School classroom as a guest lecturer, telling my story to wide-eyed students. So the moral is, I concluded, sometimes the biggest risks lead to the biggest rewards. But more importantly, credentials matter less than courage. Skills can be learned. Passion can't be faked. A student raised her hand. What happened to the real Dr. Ashford? I smiled. She's teaching at Oxford now. We're actually good friends. She thinks the whole thing is hilarious. Another hand. And Mr. Blackwood? Professor Blackwood is waiting outside to take me to lunch, I corrected, flashing my wedding ring. We'd gotten married last month in a small ceremony on the beach in Santorini. Maria had catered. Mrs. Patterson had declared our auras cosmically aligned. It was perfect. After class, Sterling was indeed waiting, leaning against the wall like he owned the place. How'd it go, Professor Holloway Blackwood? Don't call me that. I'm still just a student here. You're also a guest lecturer, business owner, and my wife. Multitasking at its finest. He pulled me close, kissing me in the middle of the crowded hallway. A passing student whispered, "That's the helicopter couple." We'd become a minor legend. The Harvard Business Review had done a case study on us. Unconventional hiring, when fraud becomes innovation. Think they'll ever stop talking about us? I asked. Probably not. We're too good a story. Sterling tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. Speaking of which, Miranda called. The Maldives resort wants our help, and Tokyo, and there's interest from Dubai. World domination, one authentic experience at a time. Exactly. He kissed my forehead. Ready to change the world, Mrs. Holloway Blackwood? I looked at my wedding ring, simple, elegant, real. At the man who'd bet everything on a lying waitress with a dream. At the future we were building together, one honest moment at a time. Always, I said, as long as you're beside me. Wouldn't be anywhere else. And as we walked out into the Boston sunshine, hand in hand, I realized something profound. The best lies are the ones that lead to truth. The best risks are the ones that terrify you. And the best love stories? They start with a mistaken identity, a helicopter ride, and the courage to be exactly who you are, even when you have no idea who that is yet. The end.